Hello everyone, welcome back to Global Alert TV. Today's top-breaking story comes from Eastern Europe, where the political landscape of Belarus is trembling like never before. In a shocking turn of events, reports emerging from inside Minsk suggest that Alexander Lukashenko's once ironclad regime is beginning to crumble from within, as murmurs of discontent ripple through the ranks of the Belarusian army. What began as quiet frustration over economic hardships, political repression, and endless loyalty to Russia has now evolved into a full-scale crisis threatening the very survival of Lukashenko's 30-year rule. For decades, the Belarusian president maintained power through a tight grip on the military, the police, and the feared security services, known as the KGB. But in recent weeks, cracks have begun to appear in that seemingly unbreakable wall of authority. Soldiers have reportedly refused orders to suppress protests in several provincial towns, while some mid-level officers have been quietly dismissed after voicing opposition to Minsk's pro-Russian policies. Sources from opposition groups claim that portions of the army are now openly refusing to deploy in certain areas, fueling rumors of a potential military defection or silent rebellion inside the barracks. While the Belarusian state media denies any internal dissent, satellite imagery and intercepted communications suggest otherwise. Movement of troops from western garrisons toward the capital city, Minsk, has been detected, and according to local witnesses, the atmosphere in the city is growing increasingly tense, with checkpoints, roadblocks, and heightened security near government buildings. The regime appears to be bracing for something unprecedented, not an external invasion, but an internal implosion. Analysts say that the core reason behind this sudden fracture is Lukashenko's long-standing dependence on Moscow. Since the start of the Ukraine war, Belarus has served as one of Russia's key allies, allowing Russian forces to launch missile strikes and operations from its territory. But this partnership has turned toxic. Belarusian officers, once proud of their independence, are now reportedly frustrated by what they see as Russian domination of their military and economy. Many feel Belarus has become a satellite, not a sovereign state. The tipping point may have come when Russian military advisors began taking direct control of certain Belarusian operations, undermining local command structures. In private, several officers allegedly told journalists that they were no longer fighting for Belarus's interests, but merely serving the Kremlin's geopolitical goals. As inflation climbs, sanctions bite, and wages stagnate, the frustration among rank-and-file soldiers has grown unbearable. Families of servicemen complain of unpaid salaries, shortages in food supplies at bases, and the humiliating presence of Russian officers giving orders on Belarusian soil. Meanwhile, the public mood in Belarus has also shifted dramatically. The protests that were brutally crushed in 2020 never fully disappeared, they simply went underground. Now, with the economy near collapse and thousands of young Belarusians leaving the country for Poland, Lithuania, and Germany, a new wave of resistance is brewing. Online opposition networks are reporting coordinated demonstrations planned for next week, timed with rumors that parts of the army may refuse to act against civilians. It's a dangerous mix, an unpopular leader, a restless army, and a population that has nothing left to lose. For Lukashenko, the fear is no longer just from foreign enemies, it is from within his own ranks. In a recent speech, he appeared visibly shaken, warning that traitors would face the harshest punishment and insisting that Belarus will never be divided. But observers say the very fact that he is talking about division shows how fragile his grip on power has become. Internationally, the reaction has been cautious but intense. The European Union has been closely monitoring the situation, while NATO intelligence reportedly intercepted panicked communications among Belarusian defense officials discussing loyalty tests for their units. Washington, too, has issued a statement urging restraint and calling for respect for the rights of the Belarusian people. However, the Kremlin is watching with deep concern. Vladimir Putin, Lukashenko's most powerful ally, depends on Belarus as a strategic buffer against NATO. Any collapse of the regime would be a devastating blow to Moscow's regional influence. Russian state media has gone into overdrive, portraying the situation as a Western conspiracy and warning that foreign-backed saboteurs are trying to destabilize Belarus. Still, inside Russia, even pro-Kremlin analysts admit that if the Belarusian army fractures, Moscow may have to intervene militarily to prop up Lukashenko, a move that could stretch Russia's already overburdened resources in Ukraine and beyond. As the crisis deepens, whispers of a potential coup are growing louder. According to unverified reports circulating online, a group of senior Belarusian officers met secretly in Grodno to discuss a possible transition of power that would prevent total chaos while removing Lukashenko. Western intelligence agencies have not confirmed these claims, but sources say that several top generals have gone silent in recent days, and their whereabouts are unknown. The Belarusian Security Council has reportedly been meeting daily in emergency sessions, and Lukashenko has ordered a nationwide alert for all police and military forces. Independent analysts believe this is a sign of panic, not strength. When a leader begins to fear his own army, the end is near, said one European diplomat. It's not about protests anymore, it's about survival. Inside the capital, fear is spreading among government loyalists. High-ranking officials are said to be moving their families out of the city, some even reportedly seeking safe passage to Russia. Meanwhile, the state television continues to project calm, showing Lukashenko smiling and meeting factory workers, but few believe these images anymore. The propaganda machine that once dominated Belarusian airwaves is losing its power, as ordinary people turn to encrypted social media channels for real information. Videos claiming to show military convoys heading toward Minsk have gone viral, sparking both hope and anxiety. Could this be the beginning of the end? No one knows for sure. But one thing is clear, the fear barrier that kept Belarusians silent for so long is breaking down. Observers note eerie similarities between Lukashenko's current predicament and other collapsing authoritarian regimes in history. When loyalty begins to erode in the army, the final pillar of control, collapse often follows rapidly. Just as Nicolae Ceausescu's Romania fell in a matter of days once the army switched sides, some experts warn that Belarus could see a similar scenario. Lukashenko's attempt to balance loyalty between Russia and his own people has finally backfired. His dependence on Moscow alienated his officers, while his repression alienated the public. Now, cornered and isolated, he faces a nightmare scenario, a divided military, restless citizens, and no one left to trust. Reports from the border regions indicate that Belarusian troops stationed near Poland have been unusually quiet, refusing new deployments. Meanwhile, intelligence leaks suggest that Moscow has sent advisors to Minsk to monitor the situation and possibly take control of critical communication systems. The sense of distrust runs deep. Lukashenko's most loyal generals are reportedly keeping their phones off and meeting only in secure underground facilities. Even his inner circle is rumored to be split, with some urging him to step down peacefully to avoid bloodshed, while others push for a harsh crackdown that could plunge the country into civil war. As night falls over Minsk, the uncertainty thickens. Streets once filled with propaganda banners are now empty, patrolled by nervous soldiers who may not even trust the orders they're receiving. The air feels heavy, as if the entire nation is holding its breath, waiting for something, a spark, a signal, or a breaking point. The future of Belarus hangs in the balance. Whether this is the slow unraveling of a long-standing dictatorship or merely another chapter in Lukashenko's survival saga remains to be seen. But one thing is undeniable, the myth of absolute control has shattered. Belarus, long called Europe's last dictatorship, may finally be approaching a historic turning point. And if the army truly turns against the ruler who once called them his sons, the fall of the Lukashenko regime will not just reshape Belarus, it could redefine the entire geopolitical map of Eastern Europe. This is Global Alert TV, bringing you the latest updates on a story that could change the fate of a nation. Stay tuned as the situation continues to unfold, and as we monitor whether Alexander Lukashenko's decades-long reign will finally come to its dramatic end.